Coming to the high fidelity wireframes. When we were talking about the wireframes, right? So I think we talked about both high fidelity and the low fidelity wireframes also. Right. So when we were talking about the low fidelity, so we were able to so we were obviously low fidelity wireframes. So, I mean, low fidelity means, of course, that we have already done. And these are the low fidelity wireframes, right? Now, what we need to do is we need to understand about the high fidelity wireframes. So, whenever we have to create high fidelity wireframes, first we always need to understand like it is better to have the research on what we need to do right now. So let's assume you guys are having a pre-made design system that your companies follow, right? So now you guys don't have to think about the colors, the headings, the text, and as well as your graphics also. Right? Now you guys don't have to think about any visuality at all because you have a design system. But let's assume we do not have a design system in these things, right? We do not have these things with us. So how we can proceed with the high fidelity designing, you can say, or high fidelity wireframes, right? So for this, we have, I mean, some 4 to 5 steps I usually do is I just go to some of these websites, right? You can say Dribble or some Behance. So from there only, what I do, I try to create a mood board, right? Now, what a mood board means, let me create a page here again, mood board, right? And let me go back to Behance. Now here only, let's say I am creating a application related to, let's say, messaging only, social media platform, right? So I'm just going to search for that only, let's say social media messaging something. And again, to use whatever websites you want to use or not, but you guys can use a lot of websites. I mean, I do use, sometimes I use Pinterest, sometimes I use Dribble, right? Sometimes I use Behance. It depends where from wherever I can get the inspiration. It is good for me. Right? I just spend a lot of time researching the things. But yeah, you also have to spend a lot of time on looking at someone else's design because we don't know from where we will get more and more better idea, right? Just researching or looking for designs for, I would say, 10 minutes, 20 minutes is not enough. Research thoroughly till the time you guys are not convinced with the research, till the time you guys are not satisfied with the user interface components you guys are looking at, just do the research again and again and again only, right? If you think whatever the designs you are looking at will complete your requirement, that is easy, then you can go for it. If you think something can be there that you need to again work on, so you might can do, right? Now, how you can create a mood board and what are the things you need to include in a mood board, let's say. So as we are here, right? So we are going to do here is we are just going to spend some time to look for some images here and just copying it, right? Just to fasten up the process here. So I copied and pasted the image here. Okay. Again, I went back to Behance and I again search for some multiple more images. Let's say this is good for me. I'm just copying this one and I'm just placing it here. Just doing one more also. Some image and just pasting in. Okay, cool. So now let's say similarly, you guys have tried to capture a lot of images. These are just three only, right? But you guys can do whatever you want because it's up to you. Now, because why I'm doing a lot of images here is because I think so maybe what I can do is I liked this category section, right? So wherever I want to create a category section, I can use this way. This could be the amazing way to showcase the category, right? This is how I want to show the notifications. And so these are the only two things that I liked about this design. Now coming to the next design, okay. So I might can use this type of bottom bar or type bar for my application, right? And I might can use the, let's say, this login box. So for my application, right? And we can use, let's say, this bottom nav bar also, right? So now, I mean, let's say by looking at multiple designs, you are ready with the complete package, but from different inspiration, right? The main components you guys have already completed. The main components you guys have already completed in your from your mood board of picks. I think I was not showing you the screen. But yeah, I mean, I marked these things as you guys can see. This what this category section, this notification panel, then this bottom custom, or you can say the input bar, this bottom navigation bar, and this logo box. Right. So yeah, these kind of things basically. Now, after sorting out the favorite or UI components, now you guys have to build them in your UI also. How these things are going to look, right? And how you will compile all different things in one similar look. Right? But before doing your high fidelity wireframing, of course, you must have at least your atoms ready with yourself. I hope you guys are clear about the atoms. What does atom means is the very basic thing. What font you want to use, what colors you want to use, how much spacing and icons also. Right? At least these two, three things should be ready with you. You should be clear with them. Then it is going to be easy for you to create the high fidelity wireframes. And let me show you one thing here is this one. And I hope we have talked about this thing, the elegance, right? The empathy, layout, essentialism, guidance, aesthetics, novelty, consistency, and engagement. This is a kind of a formula that we guys should use whenever we are working on the interface designing. Just let me know if we guys have talked about these things. I hope we have already talked about these things previously. So yeah, I mean, whenever after completing our attempts, whenever we have to proceed with the high fidelity wireframing, we can use this formula, and it is going to again it is going to help us at all. Yeah. So yes, coming back to the high fidelity here. So we have talked about the very basics whenever we have to create our high fidelity. Now, what will happen when we have created all the high fidelity wireframes? So you can say, let's call it design only, just to make it short, right? But design also means high fidelity wireframe. Now, a question here is, what will happen when we have completed the designs? What should be the next thing we have to do when, or you can say, what will be the things when we are doing the designing, when we are about to complete the designing, and when we have completed the design, right? So let's talk about the first scenario when we are in process or when we are designing these screens, right? We are in progress of this screen design. So during this phase, it's good. I know, I mean, okay, so we have a lot of inspiration. We have tried to gather a lot of data here, and some tendencies we have already did, right? But whenever we are trying to create different user experience that is never created, right? So at this point of time, you guys should be able to understand the accessibility, the usability, right? How does it going to serve to different person out there? I'm not sure whether you guys are aware about this thing or do we have talked about this thing or not. But as of now, we are following this particular guidelines as of now. Right? This is what we called WCAG 2.1. Right? What we are following as of now when it comes to the accessibility and usability. Right? We have two different words here: accessibility and usability. Also, you guys should not get confused in the usability and user testing also, right? These two things are also totally different. Usability and user testing. Totally, I mean, you can say different things they are, right? So now let's figure out what the accessibility means, and then we are going to talk about the usability, right? So this is a website. If you search for the WCAG 2.1, this is going to be here, right? These things basically. Now it might sound you very boring, right? But it is the very good thing for you to understand. Yeah. So, I mean, I recommend you guys to come to go to this website and try to read. I'm not saying the whole thing, but again, if you guys are able to understand and read about all of the points, whatever we are having under four pillars of this WCAG, then it is amazing. But you guys should know the minimum things of this one, right? So when we talk about the WCAG, right? This is what we call the Website Content Accessibility Guidelines, right? And the current recent version that we are using is 2.1. This is the latest version, and it was, you can say, released in September 23, right? So under this, we have almost four pillars. When it was introduced, it was having four pillars of the all web content. Now, web content does not mean it is going to be related to the websites, right? Web content means whatever is a digital content. This is what we mean by the web. So let me show you an image so you guys will you can easily understand. Yeah, this one. Yeah, so we have these four terms here, or you can say POUR, right? POUR. This can make you understand about the whole WCAG 2.0. The first thing is perceivable. Users' ability to recognize and use these services with the senses available to them. Right? Senses means it can be hearing, it can be touch sense, it can be seeing sense, you can say, what sense, right? We can see the something, whatever kind of sense they are having. Six sense we have usually, right? Or the four or five sense you can say. So whatever the sense we are having in our body, when a person try to recognize the pattern, recognize the services, recognize the products that they are using these sense, I mean, your product should be able to. This is what we call perceivable. I mean, whatever the design you guys are making, that should be able to, you can say, perceivable with the sense we as a human are having. Right now, what you guys can say is, let's say there is a person who does not have hearing sense, who cannot listen, right? Who does not have hearing sense, who cannot hear. So how will you create, I mean, if someone is having, I mean, some kind of let's take an example of metro, right? In metro we guys are only, if we are just having the sound announcement only, right? So now person who are not having hearing sense, they will not be able to understand which station is going to come and which station they are at as of now, right? So if you see metro and these public transports are made in a way where these guys can easily understand or can recognize the products easily, right? This was about the perceivable, the first part. Now, operable, users' ability to find and utilize content regardless of choice of access. Right. Now it means whatever the user we are targeting, right, and whatever the content they want to access, if it is available or visible to them, so it should be accessible, right? And users should have freedom to operate the content, to operate the product they want, right? Again, regardless the choice of access, right? Because here at some point of time we can see we might not able to change our username multiple times. It is access, right? But user want to change it. So can have different scenarios based on the product type, but usually it should not. Right? So I mean, your product should be operatable to each and every user at different areas. Right? The third thing we are having is the understandable, right? User's ability to clearly understand the content and service features. I mean, whatever the designs you guys are creating, whatever the content you guys are using, the typographies and the fonts, right, the sentences, which whatever you are using, so these should be understandable to each and every user out there. Right? That is why a lot of companies are trying to make their products in regional language, because as of now, a lot of companies or a lot of, you can say, users are not even able to understand the English language, right? So what they're doing is they're trying to convert their products in the regional language, so to make it more understandable to the products, to the users. And I mean, it should be easy to understand also. It does not always mean about the language. It meant to be a lot of let's say these illustrations might be you are using, icons you might be using, right? These things. So it should be understandable. And I will give you example about this one later on. But yeah, the next thing we are having is the robust one. Right? That means users' ability to reliably interpret the content regardless of their mode and mean of access. No matter who is using your product, right? It doesn't matter. I mean, it should not matter what kind of ability your user is having, but the content, the product, the service should be similar to each and every user out there, right? It should be similar. It should not look like, okay, so a person who is having who is not able to hear, right? Who is having some hearing aid, they can just use a feature, but the people, those who cannot see the screens, they cannot use that feature. Okay? Just an example, basically. So whatever the features you guys are making, it should be accessible to each and everyone, right? And it should be able to interpret the content also, right? If someone is not able to see, so your system should speak. If someone not able to hear, so your system should show the captions, right? Just a different examples of delivering the content, you can say. So these were four pillars of the WCAG 2.1. And we are having different scenarios for each and every pillar out there. So for an example, let's say this, let's say no text content. Right. So we come to this one. Success criteria is 1.0. Yeah. So controls in it. If non-text content is a control for accept user input, then it has a name that describe its purpose. Right. For additional requirements, control. Okay, so what it is saying is, so whenever we are having non-text content, let's say image, right? I mean, non-text that we cannot select like this also. If non-text content is a control for accept user input, then it has a name then that describe its purpose. Or you can say alt text we also have for images, right? For images we have alt text. So I think it should have, yeah, here you can say. If non-text content is time-based media, then text alternative at least provide descriptive identification of the non-text content, right? So whenever we can see some old text, right? So it means it is a description of the image. Let me show you an example of the old text. And so search something, right? So if I go to this one, sorry, not getting properly as of now. But yeah, I mean, whenever you guys hover on any of the image somewhere, right? So it shows you a bubble out there, kind of a bubble. This is what it is about the old text of an image. If I get something, are they going to get it? I mean, if someone has placed it, then we can go to the old text. From here, you will able to see the slice of pizza on a plate. And for this kind of thing also, showing bigger image like this. Right? So it has this image, something, right? Now image, old text is Doritos, tortilla chips, nachos, cheese, 1.7 ounce, large single something it is a 550. So this content, whatever they have put on the top, the title, this also they are using on this image also, so that whoever is having hearing issues, the system can just speak out the old text of an image and person will able to understand what there is available inside that image. If I speak this particular line in front of someone, so they can easily understand. So there could be a Doritos of a pack of a Doritos that is tortilla chips with nachos cheese and 1.7 ounce large single serve bag and pack of 64. So I can easily understand what this particular picture means and how it is looking like, right? So just a quick example, basically. Basically, you guys can go for each and everything. I mean, this was the operable, how your product should be operatable for different accessibility. So keyboards, no keyboard strap, no timing, how pose, stop, height should work, how your location should work, how focus visible, labeling the name, if how you can create your products understandable for everyone. It should be readable, it should be predictable, it should be input assistant questions, a lot of things, right? So if you guys want to understand better thing, or you can say want to understand more and more better in the accessibilities, so you guys should go to this website and try to read them at least once. I'm not saying for every day you have to, but at least once try to read each and every definition out there. And these are not very long definitions. These are very small definitions, right? So yes, I mean, just give it a try and you guys will be able to understand more about the accessibilities. And a lot of questions interviewer can ask you on this particular question or on this particular topic on. They can ask you how you guys are making your products accessible. What kind of things you guys are using to make your product accessible? Is there any rules and guidelines you guys are using to create your product accessible? These kind of questions, right? So you guys have to answer in this way only by using this particular whatever the guidelines we are having, right? WCAG 2.1, right?